The opposition give notice for a no-confidence motion. Another arrest in the alleged abuse of public funds. And Xavier Coates may forego KUMULS jumper.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Wednesday's news. The opposition has announced Peter O'Neill as the alternate Prime Minister. The announcement follows the submission of an amended notice of motion for the vote of no confidence to the Speaker of Parliament earlier today.
Thank you, Papua New Guinea. It gives me great pleasure.
The member for Yali Bupangi and the second longest serving former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill is the opposition's new candidate for the Prime Minister's seat in the motion of vote of no confidence that is currently before the Parliament. The appointment of O'Neill comes after member for Aitape Lumi and parliamentary leader for the National Alliance Party Patrick Pruach moved to join the Marape Basil government 2 weeks ago. Opposition leader Belden Nama made the announcement today.
We in the opposition have to have faith in our candidate. He was just the Prime Minister then. He was given the mandate in the national general election. And it is only right for us to reinstall him as the Prime Minister so he can come in and stabilize the country and stabilize the economy of our country. We have faith in Honorable Peter O'Neill.
Earlier during the day, the opposition leader presented the amended notice of motion for a vote of no confidence to the Speaker of Parliament, Job Pomat. He explained that this is not a new motion, it is an amended motion guided by Section 145 of the Constitution.
I just want to make it very clear to the nation that there is no new notice of motion. The notice of motion was already submitted to Parliament, to the Speaker, on the 15th of December 2020. Today we only submitted an amended notice of motion substituting the Prime Minister nominee.
With the national general elections just 15 months away, why the urge to change the government at such a short time?
We can see for the past 24 months where our country is heading to. Our country is now its economy in recession. Its economy has declined by independent reports, well over 5% over the last 2 years, and it's projected to have further decline into the future in 2021 and beyond.
This government, this Prime Minister has no answer as to how to resuscitate our economy that is in the life support. He's got no clue altogether. He can't answer the simple question from Sepuka Temu today. How much more can Papua New Guinea borrow and from where? His Treasurer Yenlin Starkey said yesterday that debt to GDP is now at 51%.
O'Neill is confident he will reduce the huge 51% debt to GDP ratio the Marape government has created, restore the economy by restoring investor confidence, and reduce unemployment.
The business is about making the shareholder, making the investor, making the resource owner all happy and balanced. And that's the heart of the negotiations that needs to take place. So that's what we're going to do. Get all these projects back on track, create more jobs, open up the businesses. What is this nonsense about lockdown?
Meanwhile, following corridor whispers of a possible adjournment of Parliament, the opposition leader, citing a case on the interpretation of Section 145 of the Constitution that deals with the vote of no confidence, says the Parliament must not further delay the motion.
We don't have to go to court to make the decision of Parliament and leaders. The law is very clear, standing order is very clear, precedence is very clear. that we need to make sure that we follow them and allow leaders to have their say.
We need to debate the COVID issues. We need to debate the issues of our plunging economy in our country. You cannot just adjourn because you are trying to avoid a possible vote of no confidence.
Shamin Poreambeb, National EMTV News.
Grievances debate in Parliament today was centered on the state of the country's economy in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. Both the health and economic impacts were debated upon, with some provincial governors expressing concerns on the risk of transmission due to the spike in positive cases and deaths recorded. Former Prime Minister and Yali Bupangia MP Peter O'Neill says the government has failed to manage the economy well, and he was responding to Treasurer Ian Lingstaki's ministerial statement. However, the government has defended its economic plans, saying PNG's situation is a result of the former government's economic mismanagement. A planned news conference by the Prime Minister this afternoon was cancelled due to the lengthy debate in Parliament. The COVID situation in Papua New Guinea was questioned by senior politician and member for Abao Open Electorate Sir Puka Temu. Sir Puka says the current COVID situation should be brought forward by the Health Minister for discussion in Parliament.
That the two most important
Member for Abao Open Electorate Sir Puka Temu during the Parliament sitting today requested for a public statement on the COVID-19 situation in the country. His request to the Prime Minister and the Health Minister.
Can the executive government be responsible to this country to inform through the leadership on the COVID situation in this country? Prime Minister, can you make an undertaking for the Health Minister to make a statement tomorrow? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In response, Prime Minister James Marape says daily statistics are being released every day and published on media platforms, adding that a parliamentary statement on the COVID situation will be made tomorrow. PM Marape said they will ensure the country is informed of the COVID situation daily.
The issue on getting information out on society, I think it has been going on for some time, and if we have not been satisfactory to the needs of everyone, then I apologize, and we will step up on making sure that the country is greatly informed on the immediate effects of COVID-19, but also the possible effect of our country and our economy going into the next few months and going into 2022 and beyond. COVID-19 is not a situation that is peculiar to PNG. It's a once in a century sort of medical event or medical travesty, pandemic.
Esther Thailam, National EMTV News.
A 20 million Kinah contract has been approved to start works on the collapsing Hawaiian bridge in Weewak district. However, East Pacific Governor Alan Bird says works have not begun, and this is a growing concern for commuters between Weewak and Aitape town. The governor made these remarks this morning in Parliament session.
Mr. Speaker. Governor Bird's concern comes after a commitment made in 2018 to have the Ngoram to Weewak road sealed. This has been ignored for over 3 years, which has resulted in the rise in road accidents and law and order issues.
Our Ngoram highway from Passam to Ngoram town has not received any attention, certainly since I've been governor. And I think for a period before that also.
Another outstanding commitment is the Hawaiian bridge. Works are yet to start despite several inspections by the Works Minister and the Prime Minister.
It is virtually about to collapse. It is unsafe. The provincial government has tried to work on it, and obviously those works aren't sustainable. I thank the previous government under Honourable Peter O'Neill, who allocated 20 million Kinah, which I understand, and I want to thank Prime Minister Marape. When his government came in, he gave myself a personal undertaking that the 20 million Kinah would be quarantined somewhere either within finance or with the central bank. Now that money was quarantined, and I understand a contract was signed last year as awarded by the NEC towards the end of last year. To date, work has not commenced on the bridge.
Responding to this, Works Minister Michael Nally says the Engoram to Weewak Road is part of the government's Connect PNG program. This will come under the Momase Coastal Highway, which Minister Nally explained.
So plan block government through the Department of Works, look long, using water civic law, working one wharf facility law Angoram. Because for us to build a road from Medeng all the way to the civic plains is difficult. So when we have the opportunity or the privilege to use our water, you can use Imdilana, you come Langaram, working wharf facility, and from Angoram, by Gosam Weewak Coastal Civic Highway, now you can go to West Papua. So you got plan.
On the Hawaiian bridge, the minister says funding has been locked up in a trust account in the Bank of PNG. And the minister says he has advised his department to have it released and for works to begin.
Last week, that's all. Now even to date, to this morning, me talk to our secretary, go pan him this money. So because we do not have the trust accounts anymore, that money is somewhere in the central bank. So as soon as we get that, identify where that money is, in which trust account in the central bank, project by start. Contract has already been awarded. It's only a matter of identifying where that 19 million Kinah is, Nabambla starting Hawaiian bridge.
Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
More concerns have been raised in Parliament over the population density of provinces in the country. Western Governor Taboy Awioto asked the Prime Minister to recommend to the Electoral Boundaries Commission to give Western Province a new electorate. The Prime Minister says NEC will receive recommendations from the Electorate Boundaries Commission that will look into equal population distribution by creating new electoral boundaries.
Milak Toksao, the people of Papua New Guinea, Western Province, the big province inside the country. Land mass blame inablo. I can carry 5 islands province now, New Guinea Islands too. I'm a big Thomas. Now big evil me, running this big province. Mila looking Mosem. Prime Minister Mila look okay commitment, law giving people of the Western Province one by my electorate.
Cabinet approving Pinis Electoral Boundaries Commission law. Kerap na making work logan. Number one, make clear some time limit is short to much long. Making substantial review for the balance of this parliament term. Substantial I give undertaking. And we've put into government thinking that after 2022, whoever is in government can come in and look into the need to expand our electorates throughout our country. The borders we have today and the boundaries we have today was set at 1977, if my memory is correct. And 77 till today is a little over 43 years. And so it is a task that needs to be done. Leaders represent their constituency, their people. We need to have an equal distribution of people under a representative, and this is the main purpose of having an Electoral Boundaries Commission set up.
In news just in, the grievances debate in Parliament has just ended and Parliament has now been adjourned to Tuesday, 10th August 2021 at 2 p.m. As mentioned earlier, the opposition gave notice for a vote of no confidence and naming Peter O'Neill as its candidate for Prime Minister's post. However, with the adjournment of Parliament, this matter is expected to play out in court since Parliament has been adjourned to 10th August. You're watching National EMTV News. We'll be back with more after the break. Welcome back. National informal economy policies undergoing validation and revision by stakeholders facilitated by the Department for Community Development and UN Women. Discussions focused on the need to create an enabling environment for this sector. This will be with the aim to take back PNG through the voice of the informal sector in government policies.
During the next 2 days of dialogue and contributions to the policy review, the policy must be aimed at uniting 80% of our population who are actively participating in micro SMEs to connect, benefit and contribute to the formal economy service delivery mechanism.
This informal economy contributes around 12 billion to the gross domestic product of this country. The workers who are in this economy represent 80 to 90% of your productive persons.
Government support to informal economy has been below the aspiration of the national economic policy, and this government is serious about empowering and protecting the lives of our marginalized population.
The Informal Economy Policy 2011 to 2015 is aimed at giving people access to formal financial services and the government to make appropriate provisions to provide certain facilities and services in order to increase productivity in the informal economy. The strategy is to give opportunity for the informal economy participants in PNG to voice their concerns on issues affecting them.
10 years of the introduction of that legislation, rest of the country down at the subnational level had no idea that that legislation was created by our government, by our legislators to empower and protect our people in informal economy. Isn't that alarming?
Comments and input from the stakeholders was productive today.
An informal economy policy for the cash economy? Or are we looking at both?
Generate that environment, empowers people to be in business.
We're planning for the informal sector, for the non-cash as we call it.
PNG is the only country that has conducted a national audit of its informal economy with room to improve. The biggest need now is to create a transitional pathway from informal sector micro SME to formal sector SME. Lilian Supera-Kinah, National EMTV News.
Police have made a second arrest in relation to the alleged abuse of 9.7 million Kinah by officers of the National Youth Development Authority. Female officer Winnie Malim was arrested and charged with 1 count of official corruption, conspiracy to defraud, and 1 count of misappropriation. Meanwhile, the Acting Secretary of Community Development, Youth and Religion, Jerry Ubase, denied knowing the allegations but says all must refrain and allow police to complete their investigation.
With 2 officers from the National Youth Development Authority under investigations over the abuse of 9 million Kinah, the Acting Secretary of the department says he was not aware of these allegations, adding that this has been a trend across government institutions.
When it's come to the media and the social media, then that's when I get to know those things. But what I want to say here is that in public service, this is a normal occurrence.
Late yesterday, the Fraud Directorate released a statement of the arrest of Winnie Malim. Ms. Malim is employed as the authority's accountant. She is co-accused of Mr. Joey Taki, the Director General of NYDA, who was arrested and charged on 12th April by fraud detectives. According to police, between 1st August 2019 and 21st March 2021, the total 9.7 million Kinah was misappropriated. The funds were not expended on the project for which PAP submission was made. Ms. Malim and Mr. Itaki were the signatories to the NYDA operational account held at BSP. She will appear before the Waigani District Committal Court later this week to answer to her charges.
Concerned citizen, and as a recently appointee acting secretary, I believe that we need to allow the process to the rightful agency responsible to do their job rather than us cooking up stories, framing up allegations to tarnish someone else's character.
Earlier this week, a terminated officer from the National Youth Development Authority appealed to the Minister and Prime Minister to intervene and sideline the Director General as investigations continue.
I appeal on Prime Minister to Assistant Minister of Community and Development and the Youth, Waki Goy, sideline Islaman, Abonimam caretaker and Miralagim.
MTV News has contacted Mr. Itaki, who says a statement will be released regarding these allegations later this week. Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
The Special Parliamentary Committee on Public Sector Reform was established under Section 118 of the Constitution and is comprised of members from both sides of the House. The committee consists of 9 members of the Parliament, including Northern Governor Gary Juffa, who is the chair of the committee. Recently revived under the Marape Basel government, the committee is tasked to assist in the restructure of the public sector to eventually deliver services effectively. The Special Parliamentary Committee is funded by the national government and is also supported by the Australia, New Zealand, US government and the European Union.
The committee is limited in time and resources. However, it has been given the mandate by the people of Papua New Guinea as an extension of Parliament. The members of our committee, all members of Parliament, obviously, we have a head of secretariat and a team. The members of the committee include myself, Mr. William Nakin, Peter Epatas, Peter Numu, Philippe Mundialu, Robert Agarobe, William Powie, Alan Bird, and Elias Kapavore. And all of these gentlemen are very keen on doing as much as possible to help us establish a roadmap that can help us rebuild our public sector so that it is an effective, efficient public sector delivering to the expectations of the people of Papua New Guinea. We understand that we have limited time and limited resources, but we're going to do everything we can so that we can, do as much as we possibly can with what we have and develop a roadmap and establish a platform so that these reforms are undertaken and continue to be undertaken until we achieve the target of having an effective, efficient, modern public sector.
A high-powered firearm that has been used in a string of robberies in Lae has been recovered by police. Metropolitan Commander Chris Kunyanban said the weapon was in the possession of 2 men who have been charged. While commending his officers' efforts, he has also called on the public to support police investigations.
This is the weapon recovered by Lae's National Crime Investigation Unit and the Sector Response Unit in a dawn raid last week. Lae's Metropolitan Commander Chris Kunyanban said it was a stolen weapon and has been used in a string of robberies in the past 3 years.
The raid was conducted at Busu Mountain, where 2 suspects were also apprehended. A search warrant was issued at the location where the raid was conducted. And 2 suspects are now in the cell. They will be further interrogated and they will be charged on the possession of the weapon and also other strings of robbery.
In 2018, it was used in a robbery during the Easter weekend. The criminals were pursued by police from downtown to Busurum compound. 3 of the criminals were shot dead and the 4th, who was wounded, escaped with this weapon. Kunyanban said it has been the subject of ongoing investigations and was found in the possession of 2 men.
One of these is a non-criminal that was in possession of that weapon and been apprehended. And also,
Kunyanban said despite criticisms, the police continue to carry out their duties, acknowledging the officers for their efforts. He also called on the public to cooperate with police during such investigations.
So we like to support the lines of the critics. Come forward and give us information as much as possible. So we can go remove guns like this from them or getting those criminals who are implicated in a lot of string of series of crimes.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lae.
People in the Kote LLG of Morbis Finchhafen district have welcomed the maintenance and opening of a long-neglected road link over the weekend. Locals said in the past they had to walk long distances to get to the main road. Coffee and cocoa farmers were affected the most. The new Bonga to Zafiria Road now connects the Kote LLG to the main highway leading to the Gagidu station.
This was the reaction from locals during the launching of the new road in the Kote LLG in Finchhafen over the weekend. The Bonga to Zafiria Road was maintained and launched on Sunday by the local MP Rainbow Paita with DSIP funding of 2 million Kinah. These locals said the road links back to World War II and has never seen any major maintenance.
The road was constructed. During the Second World War, it's been constructing. Now, after so many years, it's been stopped nothing.
In the past, people in the Kote area had to walk long distances to get to the main road to catch a PMV to Gagidu Station, the main access into Lae. Among those who were mostly affected were the coffee and cocoa farmers. The Kote LLG Ward 2 Councillor Keith Gonjang said apart from walking long distances, farmers were also burdened with transportation fees.
Lo Jafiro go lo Merikio and Tenkina, na Merikio go lo Waro and Narapla Tenkina, so there's 20 kina, and pay head lo man lo Karem coffee bilum, Karem cacao, lo walk about lo here and I go.
Women, especially mothers seeking antenatal care, were also affected.
Lo time lo mama like delivery and big problem too much. Plenty of pain die, plenty si bagara paida mama or baby.
Councillor Gonzang said the new road link will ease these burdens, especially that of coffee and cocoa farmers.
Oh, and by 100% help and by people looking for heavy people are facing long and broad problem. So now people look at some road come now and easy access lo people now because coffee people are putting lo solda na go lo wareo na go gara lo bonga lo leko desla and no god now lo here na go sel upside and no god now and ban put him straight put him lo house dua kari pikim put him straight lo gagidu all lo maneba.
Finchafan MP Rainbow Paita said all road projects are purposely to open economic corridors for people in the district.
Through the DSIP intervention program, we've been able to start some major roads. We've been able to start designing, planning. The ones that we can fund and we can start, we've started a few of those, including the Mindik to Lembati Road, which is a missing link in the district. And then we have the Mapering Road, which is from Apondong to Kanenko, Jinko, and then Makini and Bokesu. And then we have this ring road, Kote Ring Road, which has been lacking in the last 40, 50 years or so.
The 13-kilometer Bonga to Zafirio Road is part of the Kote Ring Road project. This is one of other road projects within the district under the Finchafan DDA's initiative to connect rural communities to the main Fisika Highway. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News, Lae.
And now looking at the NASFund market report, the Kinah opened unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your Kinah was buying $0.2775 $, $0.3528 Australian dollars, $0.3822 New Zealand dollars, and 29.37 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York closed, gold is trading lower. Coffee, cocoa, and copra closed higher. Palm oil closed higher. Crude oil is trading higher, and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower. The ASX 200 is trading higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National EMTV News continues with more after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. After 2 years of living in the new normal with COVID-19 protocols, what has become obvious is how fragile the Papua New Guinea economy is. We've come to realize quite painfully that the employment market is limited as many Papua New Guineans are forced out of employment and companies cut back operations. But it has also created opportunities to learn and create businesses and employment through small business. All this is being done in a tough business environment.
Over the past 2 years, we've seen a sharp decline in what we call formal employment. And in Papua New Guinea, there are just 600,000 people who have formal jobs. The bulk of them in government and various industries. Most of them are connected to large families who depend on them. It is difficult to put an exact figure on how many people have lost their jobs in the last 24 months. But there is enough empirical evidence to show that families are being affected by the impacts of COVID-19.
Mr. Speaker, there are two wars on COVID-19. Let's be clear about that. A health war and an economic war.
The Bank of Papua New Guinea figures confirm that employment rates in the private sector have dropped and there is slow growth.
We do know that tourism numbers are down, that revenue from international travel has dropped to unprecedented rates, and that generally COVID-19 has put a squeeze on business. But the exit of people from paid jobs has triggered what appears to be growth in the SME space.
The other scenario is that those with paid jobs are building SMEs, or at least starting out, because they want the security of a second income.
When you're looking at formal employment, there's only ever about 500,000 jobs.
Des Janinen, the president of the Micro SME Council, says the solution for job creation in Papua New Guinea lies in the SME sector if people are adequately supported in growing businesses.
If our economy continues to grow at the pace that it's been growing, and if there really isn't much new job creation, SMEs are the only alternative for the majority of Papua New Guineans. There is no other way for them to have sustain a living.
Members of Parliament will remember the fourth out of the 6 measures that we announced last year was trying to release 500 million Kinah from the superannuation funds to assist our people who are out of work. Members of Parliament will recall that we had commenced some legislative changes. We were quite late, so that didn't really help them, but they nevertheless still accessed a lot of those funds because the 6-month period for which they were out of work made them eligible.
Job creation, despite the current difficulties, is crucial if the PNG economy is to survive in the long term. Amid the challenges of COVID-19, small businesses are weaving their way through what has always been a complicated business environment.
When you want to go and get a shop space, they ask you all these questions like, what is your 12-month plan? That's standard stuff, your IRC, your IPA, what you're going to do, how you're going to grow your how you're going to grow the business, where the revenue streams, blah, blah, blah. And then your 12-month plan, like, okay, so every month, how much revenue are you expected to make?
At the Port Moresby City Markets, an initiative designed to gather small businesses and those starting out, trade appears to be growing. But for small entrepreneurs like Stephen Dawanikura, new restrictions, new fees means that they can only make enough to cover their costs.
And I'll be honest, I'm not a financially literate guy. I don't know how to do this and that to run an operation financially stable. I know how to talk about a product, I know how to promote the product, and how to deal with customers. But that aspect, I need support on. So while I'm here at the Palm City Markets, I know that service is now available. They have experts talking about it, so now I can reach out to them to point me in the right direction.
I think that the entrepreneurial culture in PNG has always been a culture. And I think that just because of social media and the new media, we're seeing more of it. So it's kind of like it's being documented better now. So that's helping the growth of it as well. But the new problems are the same as the old problems and stuff. So from a personal point of view, I don't think there's been a big difference. I just think the community is much better now. The SME communities are much better now. They're supporting each other. Before we didn't have social media, so we couldn't really support each other. We're just like, oh, I'm businessman and business Mary and what's that. Now we recognize everybody as entrepreneurs.
There are, according to recent figures, 50,000 SMEs of various sizes in Papua New Guinea. Many need help, but access to financing and the general ease of doing business are still a long way off. Scott Waide, National EMTV News.
Divine Word University has recorded more than 20 positive COVID-19 cases and has taken stringent measures to control community transmission. President Father Philip Gibbs says most of the positive cases were flexible learning students with a few regular students. However, these cases were asymptomatic and the students were isolated and treated and were able to attend classes via Zoom.
Divine Word University has imposed strict COVID-19 protocols to control the spread of the virus. President Father Philip Gibbs says the changes include social distancing, where classes are divided into 2. Half of the number are in the morning class, while the other half in the afternoon class. and it's mandatory for students to wear masks in class.
It's mandatory that students must wear masks in class. No mask, no class.
The university is also organizing a digital forum for students and staff to discuss some of the issues and concerns raised on COVID-19. Father Philip Gibbs explains the forum will also converse on the question and answer booklet on COVID-19 recently written and released by Papua New Guinean experts, where most students have openly expressed fear of being vaccinated.
There's only a minority of students really say they want to be receive the vaccine. And you ask them, well, why not? And they say, well, we're scared and we've heard the stories and so on. So, I think we've got a lot of work to do to try to dispel some of the fears that people have.
The university will also be sending 5 nurses and a doctor working at its clinic to Port Moresby to be vaccinated. The president explained this is the health officer's request to be vaccinated. The university had sent 2 of its health workers to Port Moresby and were vaccinated. But the president says the health officers are willing to be vaccinated as they are dealing with different people daily and need to be protected. Father Philip Gibbs, who was also vaccinated, said he had no side effects after taking his jab. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Medang.
And now the COVID-19 statistic update in the country as of Monday, April 19th, 2021. The death toll is at 91, and the cumulative total of cases reported stands at over 9,000, with 153 new cases reported. Over 73,000 tests have been conducted so far. From the accumulative total of 9,952 cases reported nationwide, 7,364 have recovered. You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. All the details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Xavier Coates is making headlines with his form despite a struggling Brisbane Broncos in the National Rugby League. While that is good for the Papua New Guinean international KUMULS coach Michael Marum says if Coates makes the Queensland side this year, he could forego a KUMULS jumper.
Xavier Coates debuted for the PNG LNG KUMULS in 2019 at the age of 18, but this time around he could be considered for Australia. After showing great form last season and being considered for the Queensland Origin team, Coates is ever closer to an Australian Kangaroo jumper. For KUMULS coach Michael Marum, this is a major concern. One more Origin call-up for Coates could see him out of KUMULS contention. With the representative round in June, Coates could miss the KUMULS match against Fiji, which is 2 days before the State of Origin.
Yes, Xavier is a bit major concern now, so I spoke to Mal Moninga yesterday. So Xavier, if he decides to play for the Maroons this year, he gets picked this year. That's going to put him out of KUMULS.
Michael Marum has spoken to Kangaroos coach Mal Moninga and says Coates is definitely in the radar of the Kangaroos wider squad. But there is still some hope, with Marum adding that if rejected by the Kangaroos, he could be considered for the KUMULS for the World Cup at the back end of the season.
His first preference is to play for Australia. If he gets picked again, but I'm sure Mal has already got him in his list, and we'll just respect what he does. If he doesn't get picked by Kangaroos, then he comes to a second tier competition, which is PNG. So
it is somewhat of a sad scenario for Papua New Guinea fans, but it is also something that needs to be respected if Coates makes a decision for the green and gold jumper. Marum says whatever decision Coates makes, it will be respected.
Sad to see him if he's not going to play for us at the end of the year, but we'll make sure we'll respect his decision, and also his family.
Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
The Papua New Guinea National Rugby League competition is awaiting its approval from the Controller's Office to confirm the date for the start of the 2021 season. CEO Stanley Hondina said the announcement will be made in 2 days' time.
With rumors going around the rugby league fraternity when the Digital Cup competition is set to start, PNG RFL CEO Stanley Hondina has spelled rumors, making an announcement today that PNG RFL is 48 hours away from a decision by the Pandemic Controller's Office as to when the season can kick off.
There's some rumors that we may get some good news around our competition resuming, and they say in the next 48 hours we should hear something back from them. So without preempting what that would be, we are looking forward to a good Digital Cup competition this year. And we are hoping the other tiers in our local leagues and other competitions too can come on. We've been strong on standards and governance, and that's something that we all ourselves are proud of.
Despite the global pandemic affecting the sporting calendar, PNG NRLC Chairman Adrian Chow says they will work together with the National Control Center to ensure that Digital Cup complies with COVID-19 protocols to allow a smooth competition in 2021.
We want to appeal and request all our stakeholders, our supporters and our sports-loving fans to follow all the health measures.
Meanwhile, Digital has extended its support as the naming rights sponsor of the Intercity Cup for the next 2 years.
You know, we spend over 3 million Kinah a year in our sponsorship. We've committed to another 2 years for Digital Cup at this point in time. I'm sure it will continue a lot longer than that.
Suli Suli, Trukai Sports.
Papua New Guinean businessman James Pang has thrown his support behind 2 Panthers clubs in Rabaul and Port Moresby. Paga Panthers in Port Moresby and Rabaul Panthers in East New Britain will receive new sets of jerseys.
Paga Panthers in Port Moresby and the Rabaul Panthers will be supported by businessman James Pang. Pang says through the PNG LNG KUMULS coach Michael Marum, who is reviving the Rabaul League, he has come to sponsor the Panthers team in Rabaul. Pang also received a request from Richard Wagambi of the Port Moresby Paga Panthers side.
And because we agreed to sponsor the Rabaul Panthers, Richard Wagambi made a request to us, can we assist also? So even though with COVID and money is short here, so we found some money.
Wagambi, on behalf of the Paga Panthers, said the support is to build better players for the pathway to the KUMULS.
We are building rugby league at the grassroots level, and we need every support we can get from like-minded business community to ensure that we supply quality players through the chain up into the Digital Cup and into the Hunters and into the KUMULS program.
KUMULS coach Michael Marum is helping to revive the league in Rabaul and says the support of jerseys and polo shirts will motivate the players to turn up and participate in the sport.
I like thank him, Rapopo, Sensory, Vunatung Plantation, all come on board and sponsoring me 2 team. And then 3 sets of uniforms for the under-20s, with senior women's, senior men's, and also some polo shirts. Same thing as for the Paga Panthers Port Moresby competition. So.
PNG RFL Chairman Sandy Saka says that the support shows the commitment by business houses to grow the game of rugby league in the local league level.
Your support to the Rabaul Panthers is not only a support, and Paga Panthers is not only a support to the 2 teams, but they are support to the work that Rabaul Rugby League and Port Moresby Rugby League are doing, which supports what the Digital Cup, Hunters and KUMULS are doing. So your investment at the grassroots level, it will have an impact at the top. So you're, in essence, supporting the whole of the game.
Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with more after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. One of the leading seasonal basketball leagues in Papua New Guinea has announced it will be hosting its national tournament later this year. National South's Basketball League in a conference stated the 2021 tournament is set for July, subject to approval by the National Pandemic Controller.
In Wendy and how talents coming out.
National South Basketball League announced earlier today in a media conference the 1st to the 4th of July as tentative dates for the 2021 tournament, with Goroka in Eastern Highlands Province being the host venue.
Today we want to announce to our teams, our clubs, and who's been following National South Basketball League that the tournament is on. The venue has been set. We've decided to hold the 14th National South Basketball League will be in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province.
NSBL cancelled its 2020 tournament due to the global pandemic and in-country restrictions and measures.
Economic downturn because of the COVID-19 and lockdown. We couldn't get sponsors, and even we can't hosting the game. Because of the game attracts almost over 1,000 people.
The annual tournament is one of a few grassroots tournaments that engages youths from rural communities, and especially around the Highlands region. The competition has been running for over 13 years. With the cost of hosting such an event being 100 to 150,000 Kinah, patron of NSBL Johnny Yawari appreciates the support given by business houses during these thriving times.
I know most of the businesses are struggling because of the COVID and the other issues, lockdown, all this. So to our business houses, at least we have given a couple of letters to our business houses. We're not asking for more or plenty, but whatever they can help to support the basketball tournament, it will be appreciated.
Upon approval by the pandemic controller, Yawari says the tournament will host over 10 provinces, including from the southern and Momasa regions. While all the Highlands regions are set to attend, Southern Highlands will field 10 teams. Kilawani, Trukai Sports.
And that story ends Trukai Sports. The weather details up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Cloudy periods with patchy rain drizzles at times in Port Moresby, and cloudy periods with rain drizzles at times as well in Popondetta.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And before we go, the grievances debate in Parliament has ended and Parliament has now been adjourned to Tuesday, 10th August 2021 at 2 p.m. As mentioned earlier, the opposition gave notice for a vote of no confidence and naming Peter O'Neill as its candidate for the Prime Minister's post. However, with the adjournment of Parliament, this matter is expected to play out in court since Parliament has been adjourned to 10th August. And that's been the news, sport and weather for Wednesday, the 21st of April 2021. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.